Let's just jump into it. Welcome, everyone, to the Fated Connections Path of Exile Community Podcast, episode number 64. We are here on the Saturday after the Thursday night announcement, where we didn't only get the announcement trailer as usual and the full announcement stream with Chris explaining the new league mechanic, all the additions and changes, and then afterwards a Q&A with Ziggy D. But also we got surprise patch notes, so we're all like super worked up and basically spent the last 2 days only researching all the changes and putting stuff into context and figuring out what we're going to do for the league start and what we're going to present to the community as builds that we recommend and as, strategies that we recommend and helpful videos. And for that, we have here not only, as usual, BalorMage to discuss all these beautiful things, but we also welcome the Austrian Viking god mbXtreme and the cult incarnate ShakCentral over there. Welcome. Let's just start. MB, you haven't been here in a while. Do you want to quickly say what you've been up to? How you like the last league, what you like about Path of Exile, give people a little bit of a background for you, if they maybe haven't seen you yet.
I'm mbXtreme, mainly known for, let's call it by the name, mainly known for gambling and wasting currency or doing more like the budget builds, like on the top side of budget builds, like just making ridiculously expensive characters, just tagging along the league. I'm not like a super elitist when it comes to PoE, but I still have figured out my way more or less with just like having the most fun with trying out builds, trying out new mechanics, and just playing along pretty much when it comes to that. And how did I like the last league? I don't know. I haven't played it a lot. It's one of those leagues where the league mechanic was actually fine for me. I think Expedition was actually the league mechanic with all the gambling NPCs and Gwenin and whatnot. That was actually pretty cool. I was just more concerned about all these nerfs that happened that destroyed so many builds. And for me, as I just explained, having the most fun in the game, just creating builds or just trying out the most weird builds and mechanics, and just seeing how so many things just got literally destroyed or just making it so bad to play that you don't even want to play it anymore. And this is where I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to finish my 40-40 and then I'll just, play other games. And that's why I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy in the past 2 months, I would say. But I'm missing PoE and I cannot wait until next league is actually going to start.
Wait, so okay. That sounds great. We'll talk all about that in a second, but first I'll give ShakCentral the opportunity to introduce himself in a similar fashion. You want to quickly tell us what you're all about when it comes to PoE?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm pretty much become the cold dot guy over the last couple of years. I've kind of on the opposite way. Just my personality is very obsessive, so I've been playing. I think there's only been 2 days of the league that I haven't logged into 315. It's I love it. I just I've been having a blast. I like the league mechanic a lot, so I kind of halfway through. I played in trade league for 2.5 weeks or something like that, and I've been talking back on and off about swapping to SSF kind of permanently. I really enjoy SSF, and I usually would swap over halfway through each league. And I kind of fully made the swap this league. I don't think I'm going back. I'm doing 316 in SSF, and I just really enjoy that kind of solo build up.
Despite all the guild improvements.
I know. That's the funny thing is I'm actually going to open up the guild that I have was all real life friends that have all pretty much stopped playing. Our guild has 15 members, and I think 13 out of the 15 haven't logged in 3 years. So I decided this year, I decided this league, I'm going to open it up, and so we'll have an actual guild from my Discord and stream. But I'm going to be in SSF the whole time. Yeah,
sounds cool. I mean, I love SSF. I'm doing the reverse thing. I've been told so many times that I'm so out of touch with the average player that I can't take it anymore, and I'm going from HC SSF mainly to softcore trade this league, not only to get a different perspective on the game, but also to make it easier on me to make content, and last but not least I didn't know beforehand that we're going to get the guild improvements this patch, right? They said something about doing guild stuff, but they said that their schedule was so cluttered and that they're trying to fit so many things into 3.16 that I was not really expecting anything that big, but guild hideouts and the new guild stash features and everything has me hyped actually to go softcore trade with my community and to open the guild up to more viewers and more people who are interested and just do things together. How do you look at it, Balor?
I tell you what, I'll give you, it won't help, by the way.
It won't help.
People saying you're out of touch, that won't help.
Oh, you're speaking from experience there, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying, moving to softcore, it won't help. Here's what it is. Because we play this much, we know the game better than the average person, which means most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, we're right and they're wrong. But there's more of them, so you're out of touch. The only way to be in touch is to not know what the fuck you're doing.
I'm pretty good at that.
It's too late for that. The ship's sailed. You're just gonna get used to people being like, you elitist bastard. Like it's just how it is.
Yeah, there's no way, like, because there's no way for you to slot into like the normal slot of like I have some budget concerns, but I have I have a decent amount of currency. So you're either gonna be like you're just gonna have unending exalts and be said you're out of touch because of softcore, or in SSF where you don't understand the softcore players.
Yeah, and even if you do both of them regularly, whichever one you're not in right now, the other people will be saying that. It's just there's no avoiding it. It's fine.
Actually said nobody tells me that I am out of touch, so I'm just.
Well, you haven't played the game in 2 months, so.
Right?
Yeah, but they never said it, and I'm playing this since like 15 leagues now, and nobody ever said like I'm out of touch with the community or something like the average player. That just means I do play a lot. That's true. And I do have probably a lot more hours of playtime than the average player, but that doesn't mean that I'm like more experienced, because as you just stated, like I'm not out of the touch just because I'm a freaking noob. But that's fine, I guess. So.
Well, yeah, maybe, but like when I look at your characters with all the implicits from the fossils, the items are worth more to vendors or overvalued by vendors, and the influence spaces and the nice stats and everything. I think your gear level is pretty out of touch on most builds.
I said I play a lot, like. Playtime brings currency, and currency is that's the stuff that you need for item sells much more to vendors, and this is like an OCD thing. But I think I'm a little bit of a trendsetter, because I see more and more people going for this route that I always pick. Item level 86, item sells much more to vendor, 30% quality, enchanted, like all these kind of things. So it's, when I started this whole thing, I think it was like maybe... It was not Delph League. It was like, I think, a league later or something. There was barely any items on the market that had those stats or those implicits, right? And my OCD says only those items. There's going to be the mirror tier item for 3 chaos on the PoE trade. I'm not going to buy it because it doesn't sell much more to vendors, because it's not item level 86 and it doesn't have 30%. So fucking shit, I need to craft this thing myself, But the more and more leagues go on, and the more items I find that have exactly those stats, so it gets easier for me to actually buy things off PoE trade that is OCD conform for me. So happy about that.
All right. Well, I think that about serves us just right for the introduction. Let's jump into the announcement. You said you were pretty out of the game for the majority of the league, so your hype level was pretty low. How high was it after the announcement stream?
Question still to me?
Yeah. Just
okay.
on a scale from 0 to 10. Yeah.
It's like before the announcement trailer, my hype level was somewhere around 2. I want to play PoE, but the current PoE doesn't make me happy. So it was like very low, and every time a league is about to hit, your hype level automatically increases just because, it's going to be new stuff, right? But since the last 2 leagues, where I pretty much said, remember back in the old times. Remember back in the times where we had Expo Chess. Remember the old times, I never had the feeling to say that beforehand, but the last 2 leagues were just, especially lastly with all the nerfs, which totally makes sense, all the preparation for PoE2 and whatnot. But my hype level was so low because I was more thinking about, like, not the positive things, like what are they bringing this league, so more like what are they gonna nerf this league, like can it get any worse, But I have to say the Scourge League, and after the trailer, the hype level went from 2 to around about, I would say 7. And now after going over the patch notes and stuff like that, it's more like an 8, But I think that the 10 will be reached on the on like probably Thursday evening or Friday when it's about to hit league start, when I'm really sitting here 1 hour before league start, still not knowing what I'm going to league start with, and this is where everything then gets real, So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, really do.
Sounds good. Well, who wants to go next? Valor says, like, it looks like he has something.
How it's not a 10? I don't know. This thing looks amazing. What are you talking about? They're adding more endgame content this league than they have ever in one patch. Ever? Like actual endgame content, like actual difficult things. That's I don't think we've ever had this much added at once. I feel more excited for this. That's such a hard thing. I say that every league. It really sounds like I've got it all the way down my throat all the time. But I am that excited.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yep. That's the reaction I get all the time.
Yeah, but isn't it like more like this is like this endgame content thing, this Uber Legion, Uber Ravage, Blight, I don't know what, maybe even Uber Elder, something like that in the future. This is like for you guys, the 1%ers, for us casuals, we're never going to see that content anyway, so.
First probably of all, you can't say us casuals and build 500x builds. That's just, you can be shit at the game. But you know how to make money and you play too much. Not casual. Right?
Fair enough.
It's just playtime. Hardcore gamers, every one of us. Not hardcore like hardcore softcore, but you know what I mean. The other meaning of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like I'm at, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 20 out of 10 excitement. I'm like through the roof. I'm ready to play now. We're in a weird spot right now, actually. I feel like, because I was during the announcement stream, I was like I could barely talk. There was so much stuff, and the reveal looked so good. We've almost come out to this weird spot where, because we don't have the tree, we're in like a weird dip of like hype for me, where we're now just kind of in like a holding pattern. Like it feels really strange right now, because I'm so pumped that I've actually gone and watched through the reveal stream. Like, I took notes, I put on Reddit, I've did like a whole bunch of meme grades for on stream and all that, and now I'm just reading through it for a 4th time, because what else do we do now? Like, we're in a weird spot right now till we get the tree.
Oh, I feel you on that. I always have that. I'm always like super reignited on my passion for Path of Exile when the announcement comes around, even if it's not one that gets me super hyped. Unlike this one, but like even then, it's always the problem that I want to play Path of Exile more than any other time of the season cycle, but then it doesn't do the same thing for me. Like, just playing the 3.15 right now when I know what's about to come in 3.16 won't do it. But it's still like an entire week, so I don't know what to do. But what I wanted to mention, which no one mentioned, interestingly, is for the hype levels this time around, I think I've never been so hyped before the announcement of the actual league, even. Because the way that they did the format of presenting the changes that they had planned, the question, answer, solution, spoilers, details, stuff like that, and giving us every day like 2 little teasers to look at, like a diff card and a new Uber mechanic or something like that, I felt so ready to play the league even before I knew what Scourge was even all about. Like, I was just damn, this is so good. I'm looking forward to this. I want to see it. And then I realized that on the Wednesday before the actual reveal that I've never been so hyped before I even knew what the game's gonna be.
Yep.
So I hope that they're staying on that course and that they keep doing that, and keeping people involved in the thought process behind the changes that they're making. Because I also think that now I'm not the only one who feels that. Like I've greatly felt that resonate with chat whenever I talked about it, and everyone was like, "Yeah, this is a really good thing." And I think now they have the freedom to even fuck up the launch. More so than they had on Expedition or Ultimatum. No, because people are so hyped and invested into playing the League now that they already think about what build they're making, that even if day one is unplayable and server connection problems, they're not going to quit the game over that. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking that comes in the exact opposite. They've had so many bad League starts, especially the one before this one, that's still so recent, that I'm so excited about this League. But if they make it unplayable on day one, I don't think it matters how excited people are. I think that people would leave in droves.
I'm really worried about the launch day too, because of all the new, because of the new guild improvements. Like he specifically talked about in the Q&A how much extra data it is when you now get in and you're loading the guild list and all that stuff. And I'm really worried about day one just going from none of that to all of it. And I'm slightly concerned about server stability on day one.
Yeah, but in the other hand, the problem is always what causes these server issues? Usually it's the insane amounts of logins, I guess so, right? So getting server problems in league start is more likely than having server problems 2 months into the league because of the lot less players, right? So in Ultimatum, for example, I mean, this was I don't think we have to go into detail with the streamer queues or priority queues and whatnot. They learned their lesson, and it's probably not going to happen again, hopefully. But when it comes to all these server issues, I'm a very tolerant person when it comes to that. I know what's going on, right? And I think this leak or this trailer causes such a big hype level that even people wrote me on Discord that I haven't seen in PoE online for half a year because they skipped Expedition after 3 or 4 days, and they skipped the Trial Master and all those things. But they said, yo, dude, I haven't played PoE in half a year, but this shit looks fucking good. I need to play this, And if we continue this cycle where we say every league gets a little bit more players, the last 2 leagues were a little bit on the lower side, maybe, I'm not sure, but this league gonna crash in super hard. And I wouldn't wonder if we're gonna get 500,000 people trying to log in within 1 minute, and this is gonna cause a lot of problems. And I remember this one league, I think it was the Ultimatum League with the priority queue where people couldn't log in and whatnot.
Yeah, it was Ultimatum.
Me for myself, I was sitting here, I was trying for 3 hours. League start for us, or for me and Catmaster, is usually 10 p.m. or something. And I was already tired, but it's league start. You're gonna blast, But after 3 hours and 25 rollbacks, and I said at 1 or 2 in the morning, I logged in again after the 25th disconnect. And I found out, I'm level 12 in 3 hours on league start. You know what? I'm just sorry, guys. I'm going to go to bed. I'm coming back tomorrow rested, and then we're going to have league start. I didn't mind at all, because you have to just consider, this is a thing that can happen. And I wouldn't wonder if it actually would be stable. If it would be stable, I would be wondered, to be honest. So I just hope that people are tolerant enough to accept this and still come back the other day when things start to work out.
I mean, if you're not racing on day one,
that was actually my favorite league start. That league.
Ultimatum.
Yeah, I understand why it was so hated, and I don't want to do it again. But it was also my favorite league start. It was the most fun I've ever had. I had 4 friends in voice with me, and 250 people in stream. And no one could log into the game. So we were just being entertaining and joking and talking shit and just memeing for 15 hours. And everything was a joke. And everyone was even the people in chat who were stuck in queue were saying, we're actually just having a really good time because we're all just the whole thing has just been hilarious the whole time. Now, I don't want to do it again. But it was a really fun experience, and it would have been real bad if I was on my own, right?
Yep.
Like if you were just one person playing by yourself, I'd have just left.
Yeah, that's in fact what I did. Like after it just didn't work, I just went offline and did some video recording and editing and pumped out some videos. But yeah, not to get lost in previous league starts. Let's focus on the thing that's ahead of us. What did stand out to you for the announcement trailer? I'll go first because I have the most superficial comment, and that's just I loved the style. The overall style was so Path of Exile and so action role playing game. It reminded me a little bit of the D4 trailer as well, with Lilith and stuff like that. Just this demon, like soaked in red, everything, and there's different creatures with like 8 legs and 4 arms, and it just looked so amazingly like at the core ARPG. So like something that you want to play. It's just an exciting adventure to go on with like thrills and everything. Can you echo the same thing, or was there something else that you paid attention to more than that?
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah. Caught you off guard there. You don't know what to say.
Well, so the first thing that I thought of when I saw the first, like they did like 1 or 2 clips of the league mechanic, and my initial thought was like, oh, Yoji is gonna go nuts on how red this thing is, in his when he makes his little trailer. But it was really cool. It's one of those things where like when you see something in a trailer that's like super specific to you, like when I saw that Shaz get corrupted to have get scourged to have a Wicked Ward on it, I was like, I couldn't even process what was happening. Like, because it instantly makes you think of like, oh, okay, so does that mean like all my items can now have all my keystones on it, so I have like literally complete freedom in my pathing? Like it just, as soon as I saw Wicked Ward with a Shaz on it, I was like, I'm gonna have to rewatch this because I'm not gonna be able to think for like the next 5 minutes. I'm like, your brain just like explodes with all those possibilities. So it was the way that they've done. I think it was one of the best trailers I've seen in terms of getting you thinking about the implications of the league mechanic. It was incredible.
That's super fair. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Scourge system on the items seems really, really interesting.
Mine's the tree. No, I just
the masteries.
The only thing I want to do. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the entire tree rework. I've been saying for a while. I remember playing when the tree would change by nearly this much, almost every league or like every second league. Do you remember way back then when there would just be massive tree reworks just all the time? It's literally like my absolute favorite thing. We no longer know how to make builds.
Yep.
And that excites me. Like, yeah, I've got plenty of knowledge and I'll be able to work it out again. But I don't know right now. Most of the time when I open up somebody's build to look at and I know what they're playing, I can just open it and in half a second be like, this is shit.
Yep.
This is what you need to change. This needs to go there. This is the pathing. Go there, but do this. Blah 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 blah. There you go. It's a 1 minute endeavor to fix somebody's tree in most builds. Anything that isn't melee, because I don't play melee because melee sucks and I will die on that hill. But anyway, yeah, we can just fix it, and now we know nothing. It's great. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking about making a trap build. Maybe I want to play traps for League Start. Phase aggro is gone, so I'm going to need a secondary defenses. I know there's still going to be enough defenses, but I have no idea where I'm going to get them until I get the tree. I have no idea what I'm going to do. Am I going to have to go CI? Is that going to be better? Am I going to go armor? Am I going to go evasion still? What kind of bases am I even going to wear? Like, I don't know any of the answers, and that's great. It's just a great thing.
The feeling of the tree, to give like an actual practical example. So I spent like a week after they announced the balance, like the proposed balance changes. I spent probably two streams and some time off stream, like rebuilding like a proposed SSF version, because I was like, oh, it makes the most sense to go armor ES hybrid. So we rebuilt the version from the ground up, and we ended up with a version that worked, but it's so stretching right now. To give an example, we are literally in the SSF version, the POB, which is now obviously useless, fully taking Divine Judgment all the way over on the left, like actually pathing to Divine Judgment for damage, and also pathing all the way over to Fingers of Frost on the right, like the upper right hand of the tree. Like I'm touching full path, and not anointments. Like we have to path across. I'm literally as spread as you can possibly be. And the idea that we could get some of those, like a ton of that freedom freed up from the masteries is such an amazing feeling now, because that's been the build for a while. It's so stretched on points.
Yeah.
For me, it was basically when I saw the Scourge trailer and I was comparing a couple monsters. And the first thing that I did, I was like, this is like some Diablo 2 thing right there, you know? Chaos Sanctuary, stuff like that, or especially Diablo 3, because some of the monsters, like I paused, like, you know, we watched the trailer and then after that we watched the trailer again, allowing to pause, you know, like in the live stream, you know, you're just watching and you see that and you're like, think for a second, you know, but there's the next feature and you're like, your mind is like going everywhere, right? But
yeah, you can't get a word in.
Yeah, but then you watch the video and something happens, you press pause, and then you express yourself, and then you keep on watching, right? And while doing that, I saw a couple of monsters, and I thought, like, this looks like the Diablo from Diablo 3, you know? And I pulled up a picture, and I was like, 100%, dude, they implemented all little Diablos in there, right? But I still, I don't want to say, like, they're trying to copy Diablo or something like that, like, you know, but I think especially what was last league or something, with all like these ascendancy skills and what came, had a lot of Diablo influence. And I don't know, but I personally, I like it, you know, as well as when I saw the tornado skill, I was like, yo, that's from the druid in Diablo 2. They also can like shoot up some tornadoes and stuff like that, right? But I do like the influence of it, because I am a really big Diablo fan as well, right? And I'm also looking forward to Diablo 4 once it will finally come out or whatever, but that's not the topic. But when it comes to the stuff that we've seen, there is two things that really shine out, and this is firsthand, as Balor described, is the tree. And this is like what also Shaq said in the start. This is like we are in such a weak and awkward spot where we're sitting here. We want to do something. We want to prepare ourselves, you know. But all we do is like having PoE open every other hour. We just hit this like check for updates button. Hopefully that something gonna happen before league start, right? So we can actually see the tree, you know. I think this mastery system is like so cool, because the tiny bits and pieces that we've seen, for example, the brand notes, you know, there was cluster jewel notes on them, on the masteries, you know, and for
stuff that was previously on cluster jewels, especially, sorry for the interruption, the Holy Conquest, where the brands attach to a new enemy every couple seconds.
That's what I just wanted to mention, the Holy Conquest one, exactly. It was not about like a little bit AoE or a bit cast speed. It was actually, Holy Conquest is like a mandatory thing in a Penance brand build, right? And now having this option on a mastery saves me, I don't know, 15 skill points, you know, and that's why I'm not really too curious about like where is going to be the life notes now, where is going to be this, where is going to be that. I'm more like the first thing I'm going to do as soon as we have the update, click on every mastery, and I want to see what points are there, and if it allows us, because usually I would say the top end builds normally have like 2 sets of cluster jewels, because I think cluster jewels and the stats, the notables, the things that you get are far superior to the ones that you can get on the normal tree, you know? They have nerfed a lot of these cluster jewels in the last league, but I still think, but if it allows us through the mastery to get the very important things without going for cluster jewel, every build is going to have like 20 more skill points to work with, you know? And this is very exciting, especially for the unique items that come. This is the second part that I really enjoy. I think this mage belt, I think this is going to be hilariously overpowered, and I don't know why would somebody in GGG say like, you know what, we could make a belt that just activates your flask non-stop, and I think mage, this belt, first of all, it's going to be ridiculously rare, probably even rarer than a headhunter, but this is...
I mean, definitely similar tier.
Yeah, but I think the mage belt, or mage blood, this is going to like... I wouldn't say outshine, it's like depends, you know. I think for a speed mapper, headhunter with like Beyond and Nemesis and whatnot, fully juiced, there is nothing that can beat a headhunter. But for everything else, Mage Blood, I mean, just thinking about having permanent onslaught, permanent facing, you have a raider in your belt, then you just use all these like enkindled orbs or something to boost up your flasks even further. Yeah, they probably only last 1 second, but that doesn't matter because your flask is going to be permanent active, And having like, I don't know, like 60, 70, 80% increased movement speed from a super juiced up Quicksilver flask. On top of that, the onslaught permanent, the facing permanent, plus the other stats that you can craft on the flasks, like not even talking about the ailment immunities, because I can get this from other sources. But what about the resistances? If you would pick a Pathfinder to have like ridiculous amounts of like flask effect, and you just get a Bismuth flask and get the mod on with all res, this flask alone will give you like 100 all res, and it's going to be permanently active through the belt. And I think, like, I don't know who designed this item, but I think that's going to be a little bit too ridiculous. And I wouldn't wonder if this would be the belt that would cost you like 200x to start with, So that's going to be very interesting.
Also, side note, I've pressed check for updates on Path of Building twice since this
I just did it.
started.
I just did it. I was going to add a source.
About it, you were like, I'll just check.
I did the same thing.
We know it can't be here right now because they don't. We don't have JSON data. We don't have the things that they need. We know it's not coming today, but I'm still pressing the button. But yeah, no, that I feel like I'm surprised to hear you say Pathfinder because I've been thinking that since the beginning, but no one seems to be talking about it. But like everyone's like, oh, but Pathfinder's for permanent flasks, and I'm like, for flask uptime, and I'm like, yeah, but you just don't have to take that note. And like, there's so much effect in there. And if you just don't take those and have permanent flasks anyway,
because
go the other way.
I did play a lot of this Val builds in the past, after they screwed up all the flasks for making it work, like Val Arc, permanent Val Arc and stuff like that. So I was playing a lot of Pathfinder builds, and I know that these builds had like somewhere around 70% effect of flask. And now with the new mods and stuff, or the reworks of the tree and maybe masteries, you could get even more. And the thing is, like, if I open one of these old PUBs for the Val Arc Pathfinder, for example, right? I just activate and deactivate the Quicksilver flask on its own. And the Quicksilver flask gives me like 130% movement speed, just because the Pathfinder juices it up that heavily. And now we have this enkindling orbs or something to boost it up further. Then you get the prefix where flasks last shorter but have like 25% increased effect or 35, And if you just focus on that one, and we know how strong flasks are, and I'm happy that they not said any flask. Having the same thing with a Bottled Faith, for example, or a Cinder Swallow, having it permanently active, I think the magic flasks is already way too strong. So yeah, it's gonna be quite interesting. But as I said, like the Mage Blood, the tree rework, and I'm a little bit disappointed on the new skills, to be honest. I have to say that the Tornado looks like super slow. I don't want to play that. The only thing that looks interesting was either the Energy Shield weapons, but as I know on League Start, going energy early on is like a very big mistake. That's why most of the people go with life builds early on, because you need the ES stuff.
Depends. I mean, if you're occultist, pre-nerf occultist was super good, but I think you can, especially in softcore, you can easily go ES about the time when you enter maps. I think the problem is that you want at least item level 72 bases so you can get tier 2 res and decent stuff. So you're probably not before maps unless you're being traded some items.
Yeah, but I also think that when your damage is based on your energy shield, and you're not going to have ridiculous, like, you're not going to start maps and you're going to have like 8,000 energy shield playing CI. That's not going to happen. That needs some quite interesting gear, and this is not like League sort of friendly.
Well, you're not going CI if you're playing energy blades. CI. You're not doing CI with energy blades. You give up 80% of your energy shield in order to use energy blades.
No, it's just a life build because it takes 80% of your energy shield. It takes it away.
There's 80% left, right?
Yeah. And so if you had 10k ES, you've only got 2 left, right? That's it. So it can't be low life or CI. It'll be really good for things like...
Well, it can be low life, but you also have no energy shield then. You have like 2k energy shield if you had
it's like a hybrid version.
Yeah, you'll be ending up with... If you build hybrid, and you'll end up with like, only 1k energy shield available to you. Right, and the rest of it will be going into debt. So you'll still be mostly a life build.
Yeah.
When that happens.
And all these link skills that they introduced, I'm a solo player, I don't play minion builds, so these link skills, whatever. I'm sorry to say. I mean, they're probably really cool if you play party or if you play a minion build, you're super hyped. But for me, I'm like, there's 6 link skills. I'm not going to use any of those at any point, so
I'm going to use them. I'm going to come in and support your ass and carry you through the new Uber end fights.
Let's see about that.
The only thing I care about with the link skills is I just want to see Quinn and Ziz and SteelMage on a team where they're just trying to keep Quinn alive. That's the only thing I want to see out of those. I don't care about
kill each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Quinn dies, they all die.
Yep.
100% of the time, if I was still playing hardcore with the people that I play with, we would be trying to kill each other for sure.
Yep.
We would be making a rule where you just like have to stay linked in a little group, and we'd just be trying to get each other killed the whole time.
Yep.
Like there's not even a question. It'd be from day one. It'd be while leveling. Like you'd pick up the link skill and be like, yeah, fuck it. Let's see if I can get it down.
Yeah, if I was with a party with those link skills, I don't think I'd ever make it through the campaign. We'd spend 3 months just killing each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, MB, you said they are not interesting to you because you don't play in party, but maybe you want to play a minion build, and then you can link to your minion, because they showed that one of the minion masteries is that you can use the link skills on those. I mean, I know you're not the minion build kind of guy, but maybe. We're kind of all over the place and jumping in between topics. I quickly wanted to add to the Mage Blood belt that it's only magic and it's only 4 flasks that constantly apply. I think Balor always asked for something that makes your flasks basically trinkets or like charms that you just have them passively in there. But you can't use it for unique flasks, which is an important drawback. And the item competes with Headhunter for the slot, which I think it's cool that they added a new super valuable, super powerful chase unique in the same slot, because it was getting kind of boring having Headhunter as the ultimate goal there, and Headhunter also doesn't do anything in boss fights. So now you get to, swap your belt for boss fights, I guess, and turn your fast farming build into a fast bossing build, or very strong bossing build. The only thing that I'm worried about is I think they have to rebalance or change the wording on the Harvest Flask Enchantment modifiers, because you can get 50% increased effect on the Flask Enchantment modifier from Harvest, and it does have -1% to this value when used, but the utility flasks cannot be used when you have them
permanently active.
So you'll always have 50% increased effect from the enchant, which is better than any other enchant that you could be getting, right? I think.
I forgot about the Harvest.
Oh, is that actually? Are the other ones better? The Enkindling Orb enchants? I don't think so, right?
I think you get 70 from the Enkindling. I could be wrong.
The new values are really. You get up to 70 effect with in the patch notes. 50.
Okay, then the Enkindling is stronger. Then it doesn't even. Okay, I thought for some reason that the Harvest one was stronger because it does have the drawback. But yeah, they buffed the shit out of Enkindling Orbs, and they didn't adjust Overflowing Chalice, which doesn't have a downside.
Shh. Quiet. Don't take that away from me.
No need to mention any of the unique flasks.
All right, let's quickly move on to the masteries. I wanted to say about the masteries, it's a very intriguing system. It's super cool. And what I really like about it is, first of all, it makes the tree clusters light up in a cool way, and it makes the tree more pretty. The tree is already more pretty than it was before. They decluttered it, they pulled things apart, and made everything look nicer. And now we get these beautiful symbols in the middle of the cluster, and when you pick up the first notable, it unlocks the masteries, and then you can get super build-defining stuff that previously, part of these mods were gated behind cluster jewels and stuff like that, and now you can get them anywhere on the tree. There's like 2 factors that I really like about this mastery system, and one is that it raises the value of actually picking up stuff in the tree physically by pathing there, because if you were to anoint something, you don't get the masteries, and you also can't access the masteries from cluster jewels. So this is a relative buff to the tree nodes themselves over, other options. And then the other factor is just like cluster jewels made it so that in different areas of the tree, you have more equality because you can get the scaling or the stat that you want in the cluster jewel socket. But now you have that same sort of feature from the tree itself, where the same stat, let's say the 40% fire conversion that you can get, 40% physical to fire from the fire mastery, that is now anywhere on the tree in any fire cluster. You can pick that up, which is really cool because you don't have to path to one specific point. It just makes it more accessible for more different starting points in the tree or different positions. And that gives us back some of the old Path of Exile feeling of like any class can do anything. I really like that about it.
Yeah, but as you stated, like if we say here, or that we have here enabled here, Fire Mastery, I would assume that every tree or every cluster that is fire-based will have exactly this Fire Mastery. And as far as I understand, you have like 2, 4, 6 lines here, fire exposure, recover life, whatever.
Yep.
And let's say on the first Fire Mastery, you pick the recover 2% life. On the second, this one is grayed out. You can only pick one of the remaining 5. Right. So you would pick like 3 fire clusters if you say, okay, that's worth it. But if you, the one that we had before was Flask Mastery, and so you cannot stack those. This is as far as I understand it, basically.
Yeah, that's correct. You can only have these once each. Yeah.
So most of that I think is right, but not every single fire node will have the same set of masteries.
Not?
They are shared masteries, but they did say that they were merging some of them, but there will be different.
Okay, so there will be some sort of identity to the clusters in terms of mastery.
You can still expect, if you're a cold damage over time build, for instance, that there's probably at least 2, if not 3, different kinds of mastery clusters that you need. And we'll probably still have to work out how to pile our tree to make sure we at least get the most important one out of each of those. It's just that instead of having to travel and be like, oh, I really need that over there. I really need that. And now it's not, I really need that all the way over there. I'm going to have to travel to it. You're like, oh, I need this mastery. What are my options? Right? And then you go, oh, there's any of these 5 different clusters I could go to get that. Cool. Right? That's going to be very good. I also think it takes power away from cluster jewels. Well, I mean, not really. It makes the tree so much better that I've got a strong suspicion that most people will be running 1 cluster setup instead of 2.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned in the start. And this is a good thing because this will save you. I mean, of course, the mastery itself costs you 1.2. But hey, for 1 skill point, getting 40% fire conversion, if my build needs that, for like chieftains and whatnot, it's going to be insanely powerful. One thing that I was like wondering, what about anointments? If you could like kind of like squeeze in anointments and activate the mastery through that, I hope
that was answered in the Q&A. Yeah. I'm pretty sure anointments won't give you access to the mastery.
Yeah,
that's what I also said. That's why it's a buff to the tree relative to anointments and clusters, because picking up stuff on the tree now gives you access to extra stuff that you can't get via anoints. However, it does work, people pointed out in chat, is using intuitive leap to just pick the notable without the stuff leading up to it, because then you're still physically allocating the notable on the tree.
Yep.
So intuitive leap works. So you have to take the notable first, because without the notable, the mastery will not work.
It has to cost you a skill point. Yeah. So even using like Thread of Hope or intuitive leap should all work. You just have to actually it has to cost you a point.
Yeah. But this is also going to be interesting because since the tree is like different build up now. What about all our favorite spots for an unnatural instinct? What about the spots for the inspired learnings, for example?
Those things will all have to be worked out again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, if we would freaking have the PUB update, so at least we can play PUB for the next 4 or 5 days and actually take a look at the clusters and plan out and see, like, I think there's going to be some amazing things in the tree, masteries and whatnot, that wasn't spoilered, wasn't previewed, and nobody knows about. Like this, as BalorMage said, like this opens up so many possibilities. And it's 100% correct that on some points, for example, I like to play a Slayer as a spellcaster, power charge stacking with the replica Pharaoh's Sphere. But this stretches out the tree so heavily that it's like kind of disgusting to build. And now, like, for example, what about this new amulet where I can have 4 anointments on it? Dude, I'm just going to anoint all 3 power charges and stay in the duelist area. That's like a complete new level of like building a character. And this will be for so many builds. And that's why I totally agree. My personal opinion on PoE is just like, play whatever you feel like, and you're gonna make it work at some point. I mean, of course, some builds are better than others, but you have the option. And if you say, dude, I want to play a berserk that is casting frost bolts with what I ignite other monsters, I can do that in that game, I have the options. And this is what makes the game so insanely cool. And with these tree changes, we're going to have a lot more options to make fancy builds, because all of a sudden, I just have 20 more skill points. What else can I build into my character? Defense, offense, like some other shenanigans or mechanics. And as I said, I'm really looking forward to these masteries. I want to see what other big cluster nodes hide there. What about fire spread? Or what if a poison node has like poison proliferation from the Pathfinder?
That would be crazy.
These like... Yeah, like Poison Blade Vortex used to have the Beano's Kitchen Knife for better AoE, right? But what if there is a node there hidden somewhere in a poison cluster that gives you the spread? That would open up so many possibilities and make builds like a lot better that are just not able to use a Beano's Kitchen Knife or being Pathfinder.
I'm gonna be honest here. I do agree with the vast amount of possibilities and options that we have now, but what came to my mind wasn't Cold to Fire, Berserker Fire, Prolif first.
That was just like the most awkward thing that you can mention. Like, hey, if you want to play something really stupid like this, like, there you go. When I say like, yeah, I mean, I could play Berserker as a spellcaster. Yeah, okay.
No, I mean, if the objective was to come up with a really stupid idea, then that was
I nailed it.
Fair, yeah.
But I do, to be fair, I do like the idea that there's going to be a lot more room for things that are just completely off the cuff, like ideas that probably could work now that just absolutely couldn't before.
Yeah. I agree.
Is there a single one of us that wouldn't spend the entirety of every free second in Path of Building from now until launch? If we had it right now,
no,
it's like the only thing I want to do.
18 hours a day. Nope.
Yeah, it's the only thing I want to do is open Path of Building and start playing with it.
I don't even want it. Like I would take a week delay on the launch if I could spend a full week and a half now in PoB instead. Like I don't really need to play the league. I need to play PoB.
Well, I mean, you're free to start late.
Yeah.
Are you guys so interested in like the theory part? Like I'm a gamer,
Yeah.
The thing is like
the theory.
If PoB would be out right now, like, I'm just going to say how it is. What am I doing after this podcast? I'm going to log back into Final Fantasy because I still have to wait 1 week until I can play PoE, Like, obviously, I would like to play around in Path of Building a little bit and just check out the masteries. But, I'm a gamer. I want to play. And if it means I have less knowledge and I have to learn the new stuff while playing the new league, I'm fine with that. I don't need to know everything up front and like have everything perfectly sorted out with the ultimate min-max build before the league even launches. But, I'm just like literally sitting here and you guys are so motivated and hyped about I need PoB, and even if it delays the league start, I'm like sitting here like, hey, I want to die to Hillock. Like, I'm looking forward to that. Like, more than I actually want to have the PoB, even though I think it's important to check all of the stuff out. But I personally don't think that we're going to get the PoB update before launch. Sad to say. Or maybe on Thursday.
Dude, we definitely get it before we usually get patch notes. Like, usually we get patch notes on, like, the Wednesday night before Friday night launch or something like that. Like 2 days before or something like that. I think this time we're going to get the PoB. I think at the latest point that we get the PoB to work would be that point, I think.
I would hope, but...
As far as I remember, the PoB updates for new skills and stuff, they worked like 2 weeks after launch.
Yeah, but see, I don't care about any of the new... I just need the tree.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Like,
I want to see the masteries.
Yeah, even if
That's
the
the only
masteries
care
don't
about-
work, just the tree and the nodes and just the general planning where I want to pass, because it's so different now. I mean, if you've looked at the tree, like most of the notables have moved into different positions. There's an ass load of new, excuse the language, of new notables, and they decluttered it massively. Like a lot of old offensive clusters that no one picked are gone now, I think.
Did you just apologize for saying ass?
Ass load.
Yeah.
Do I need to watch my language more on here?
I was just gonna say MB spent like half the every other word, and
Catmaster's just so wholesome.
don't be a butthead, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you something. Maybe that lights up a little bit. I sent it in the group channel here.
I light up all the time, dude. No problem. Blaze it. But yeah, excitement. Continue, please.
Here's the thing, though. If it was just for me, I actually don't really care. Like, I would play with Path of Building for ages. That's fine. I would absolutely spend the next whole week in Path of Building. But it's really not going to too negatively affect my league start personally if there's no tree at all ready before launch. If there is no way to plan and I have to do it on the fly, I will do it on the fly and it'll be fine.
Also, a quite interesting picture there.
But, oh my god.
Yeah.
Super cool for you guys.
Yeah. I've had
Really
that.
good
Yeah.
one.
I actually realized at one point I had that picture open in 4 different browser sessions, and I had to close them all out.
Yeah. The problem is league start build guides. First of all, there are already some out. Now there's a few people going, these are my ideas of what I think will be good. And if we get trees, I'll have guides for you soon. And that's great. But there are some that already have guides out on YouTube. Don't follow any of those people. If there's already a guide that says, I've got your league start planned, just fucking unsubscribe. That's trash, scamming bullshit. But also, without the tree, I don't even need Path of Building working. If you give me the website tree, that's good enough. But without the tree, I can't make a league start guide for anything. Yeah. I can't make a single guide. I can't do it at all. I need the tree, man.
Well, you can't do build guides, but you can do guides for general content. We already do have all the information. We have an entire overview of the new atlas. We know pretty much which map is in which corner of the atlas. I mean, if we zoom in, we can definitely read the symbols of the maps. Plus, we know where the atlas base types drop. We know the new div card locations, and we also know where the new, where the passive, the atlas passives are. We even have 2 trees to look at. I think we got the tree for Lyra Arthane in the streamer thing, and in the press release kit, and the entire Valdo's Rest tree already. So that's pretty good. We can tell people where the juicy Atlas passives are and what you should rush.
Yeah, and there will be I think we're kind of getting to the point where those images that have been shared of the tree, especially the one that has all of the keystones highlighted and circled and all that, if you zoom in enough, you can start to get an idea of some general pathing because of you can match if you want to go crazy with it and you really need to start planning some potential pathing. You can match symbols up. I'm not going to say I started to do that already, but you can match a lot of those symbols up. So I can look and know, I know where Breath of Rhyme is, so I look and see that that's got a snowflake. So I'm just looking for snowflakes across the screen, and especially with the ES node, you can kind of see over near Zealot's Oath the weird ES symbol, so I'm just scanning that for more ES symbols. So you can get an idea, you just don't know what the masteries are going to be.
Yep. That's true. Well, we knew some of the masteries. I mean, we've seen minion masteries in the trailer for one cluster. I still don't believe 100%. Balor, do you have the source on that they said that the masteries are only shared partially between the clusters of the same type?
So, sorry.
Because I was under the assumption that all fire clusters would give you access to the same list of masteries, for example.
They are. So I don't mean to hop in front of him, but just because because I was doing notes, I've watched the Q&A I think 4 times through now. All of the masteries have the same. They have a big list, And I think they said like the masteries are not, like the list isn't final yet. And I would argue the masteries are probably one of the biggest reasons why we don't have the tree yet. But the idea that they wanted was that every cluster has the same mastery so that it gives you more options all over the tree.
Well, so I thought I heard that differently, but I definitely have only watched it twice, so I could be wrong. My concern with that is there are more wheels on the tree for many different things than there are mastery points in the lists they showed us.
No.
Yeah.
So
You think?
yeah.
For the defense ones mainly, like the ES and armor nodes and all that, I don't know, have we seen...
I don't think we have seen any ES
I don't know
life.
that we've seen defensive mastery lists.
I mean,
maybe
how many fire
And
clusters
maybe-
are there in the tree? Like 4 or 5, maybe? You definitely can't pick all of the masteries, and you're not going to path to all fire clusters anyway. You're going to pick like 1 or 2, right?
Sure, yeah,
Yeah, it's mostly
but-
for the defense, but I guess I guess they could just have way more in the list for defenses than that.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there has to be other ones. For example, we now take a look at the Fire Mastery. What is there? Fire exposure. Does it bring anything to me if I play an Ignite build? You know, Ignite is still fire, but most of the thing, do I need fire fist to fire conversion if I play an Ignite build?
Depends on
Maybe.
the Ignite build.
Yeah, exactly. Increased fire damage per 20 strength. If I'm not investing into strength heavily, this is a complete useless node. So yeah, the only thing that's super interesting for me is kind of like the fire dot multi. But I do think if there is
Cover and Ash is also really nice, unless you get it from another source.
But what I want to say is like this is like covers this fire mastery. There's 6 things on the list, right? But there is a lot more ways to play fire. You know, there's like attack based builds. There's caster builds that use fire. There is dot builds. There's like ignite or like fire is like, you know, I don't think that for the whole amount of builds that I can play with in combination with fire are covered on those 6 points. So I do think when there are specific clusters for ignite that there is like maybe an ignite mastery in addition to the fire mastery, you know? Because the Flask Mastery is kind of the same.
The answer was 9, by the way. There are 9 fire clusters on the tree right now.
Yeah, right now, but that's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
they cut a lot of
notables.
offensive. They cut a lot of offenses.
Yeah, but that's
from the
9
thing.
different wheels that have fire in it right now.
Okay.
And so, like, okay, we don't have the new tree.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I think the new tree
and
will
like-
have like significantly fewer.
And like you think, like, does Lava Lash count? I mean, that's fire. It's also only fire attack, but it is fire. So what does it count as? Right? Like
Exactly. That's my point. Like Lava Lash is a pure attack based thing. You know, if I play any spellcaster like Fireball or something, like what does Lava Lash give me?
Well, but
But
none
it's still
of
gonna share all the-
of these masteries are like attack or not spell specific. Like exposure works for attacks, recover life works for attacks, fizz conversion works for attacks, cover and ash works, increased fire damage, fire dot multi in case you do ignite. But like, I guess you wouldn't pick Lava Lash in an ignite attack build. That would
Yeah, I
be
think
the
it's going
only
to
one
depend.
that
Like,
doesn't
so, like the clusters on the tree that are for attack specific things are obviously going to have attack specific masteries, but things that are for specific types of damage are probably going to be a lot more general.
Yeah. I mean, we can't really say much. It's a pure speculation at this point. We don't really know all the ins and outs there. But
That's what I just wanted to point out. Like it's all that we have, this part of informations, and all we do is like assuming or speculating, but you know, all the speculations will be blown away once we have the update, so we're waiting for it so we can actually hopefully see all the things up front leak start, and then we can just see how it's going to work out. How many mastery are there? Are there specific ones for dot builds or for specific kind of builds, you know? So
Yeah,
everything
fair.
else is like...
Yep.
Could sit here all day long discussing like what can be, you know, like what would be cool, you know, but if it's gonna be there, we're gonna see. I mean, not everything is set in stone, but I think 95% is. So it's just gonna probably fine polish it and then hopefully give it to us, like the information.
yeah. I mean, it's important to play through this different scenario, and then we're prepared for all eventualities now. But let's move on for now from the passive skill tree to something we haven't talked about at all yet. The new Atlas is significantly reduced in grind, and the notion that it takes too long to get to the juicy part of the end game is being addressed quite heavily. They cut down the Atlas to 100 non-unique maps, and you have these 100 maps on top of the unique maps, and only 4 regions. So the passive trees are condensed, the Watchstone grind is condensed because you only get 16 instead of 32, and it should be a lot more streamlined to get to the part that people consider fun. Thoughts on that, anyone?
So I would argue, like, I would guess that I probably play the least of the 4 of us because I have like a Monday to Friday 9 to 5. So from my perspective, it's straight up upside. There's almost zero downside to it. It just lets people that have somewhat limited playtime actually get to the things that they want to, as long as their builds can handle it, right? This isn't necessarily a buff to bad builds. It's a buff to straight up time management, and I'm a big fan of that. You still have to have a build that can get there. Like it just means you're going to hit your wall faster. For a lot of players, you're going to hit your yellow map or red map wall faster, but if you have a good build, you can get there.
I totally agree with that. Like, I think on League Start, it's fine to do the entire Atlas, but even me, for saying I'm playing 12 hours a day on League Start, I know other people go like 40 hours and do like stream session or marathons, right? But I usually stick around 12 hours per day when I grind. But it usually still takes me the first week. I'm like having my OCD, I want to complete everything. My goal is always like from Friday to Friday, or at least to Sunday after the release. I want to have all my 164 maps completed. I want to have all the completion bonus. I want to be done with that. And I'm even investing my currency to buy those maps to get to my goals faster. But as I said, even for me playing 12 hours a day, I still need like at least 6 or 7 days to finish that. So if you cut that down to somebody that plays half of my time, they need like 2 weeks. And somebody that plays even less, they need like 3 weeks to just finish the Atlas and get actually to the Maven part and so on. So I do agree. I like this new system where it just takes less time, just because mapping is not the only end game. The good thing in PoE, we have so much end game. If I want to go and start deep delving now after they buffed it, or if I say, I want to go like Legion farming, Delirium farming, like Simulacrums, there's like, not everything has to do with the Atlas in specific, and just bringing that one a little bit. I mean, I personally do like mapping the most, just throwing maps, all can go and whatnot, or just juice them up, whatever. But it's just one part of the game. And I could delve right away in Act 3, but I cannot run my tier 16 maps right away as well, So I really do like the fact that they make it a little bit smaller. Even for somebody like me that plays a lot, I still appreciate the change because it always takes some time. Obviously, you can say, why would you want to have it faster done? Because it would just like make you faster, and you're probably done with the league faster if you have less to follow, right? But I disagree on that point. I think we're still going to have an amazing time with the shorter Atlas. But what I kind of hate, that what I want to point out, in the patch notes, they gave us a list of the maps they removed. Because obviously, if we have 150 maps before, now we have 100, there's 50 maps gone. So I was hoping to see all those shit maps removed that have like bosses that had 25 stages, where the bosses take longer than the actual map, But then I go through the list and I see Burial Chambers removed. I think Burial Chamber is like one of the most iconic maps in PoE history, for me at least. Because I remember back in the days with like the Shaper Elder strategy, permanently sustaining Burial Chambers, having magic finding builds, and run tier 3 Burial Chambers every freaking day for like 2 weeks straight, farming Doctor cards, The beach map is gone. One of my favorite maps. Like, I think, every single region you have like your favorite maps, right? And I think 4 maps that I usually always have favorite are now removed from the game. And I think this is like kind of sad.
It honestly looks like they looked at the list of the build of the maps people like the most and made sure to fit as many of those in as possible. I'm actually a little bit mad about it. Literally all the good maps are gone.
Yeah, for Endgame grinds, for example, boss farming, they removed City Square. A map where you just go to the center and you have 3 bosses, Like, it's a little bit of a cheese strategy, but, these maps are gone, So kind of sad a bit.
And that, look, chances are I might play the most out of everyone on the screen right now at League Start. I don't know. I'm usually on 19, 20 hours a day. So it's a lot, and even I'm happy about getting shortened from 150 to 100. Like it was ridiculous. It took so long, and it wasn't fun towards the end. And it's like my favorite part of the league is the start and getting everything set up. And by the time you actually finish it, it's already felt like too much of a grind for me, and I play way too much. So very happy it's less, but really just fucking confused about the list of maps that they removed, and also why wasn't cells on it. I don't know anyone who likes
dungeon
cells.
map and those kind of things.
What is going on?
Taking away cells would let me forgive so many of those.
Right, if you just got rid of cells and dungeon in the list with all the other good maps that I like that you took away for no good reason, I would probably be like, well, at least they took away the worst maps as well as the best maps, so we've only got the ones in the middle.
Or something,
Yeah, but they didn't do that. They just got rid of a bunch of the best maps that you could possibly run, and I don't care about the rewards in the map. I don't care about that it dropped a doctor card, right? Like, I've only found like 3 doctor cards in my life, and I've farmed burials for many, many leagues. Mm-hmm. But it's just a really good layout map. It's got a nice boss at the end. It works just really well. It's really smooth to run. That's what I want. I want my fun, smooth to run maps. And you took them all. Stop.
I think they want to like remove the linear map. I think players like linear maps the most. You know, for example, Tropical Island is also one of those maps. It's like a path, then a small tunnel, and then a path, and then there's an end boss without any phases. You know, you go in there and there is no backtracking involved. The linear maps is what players really enjoy the most. But I get the opinion that GGG doesn't like linear maps. They want us like a cells map where we have to like struggle. Like, where is the boss this time? Is it left top side? Is it the right top side? Or is it just like somewhere, you know? I mean, obviously there's map reading and whatnot, but the amount of cell maps that I ran, you know, I can count on one hand, to be honest. It's like probably one each league, more or less. Yep. I get my completion, I'm out of here, see you never again. And if I find a cell, you know what, I'll just vendor it or whatever. It's gonna be rest in peace in my stash somewhere. I'm not gonna run this shit forever.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand that it's a little bit sad to see a lot of your favorite maps go, but from a developer standpoint, they've always kind of hated on the one map meta, and have always done things to combat it. And it's gonna be fun to see, at least for one league, to see what people like, what sort of map people gravitate towards when all their like favorite options are gone. Similar to how you're excited about the tree because all the cards got shuffled, right? And you don't know what are the best options. Now, we don't know what is the best Atlas strat because there's all these maps that we usually don't run. So from that point of view, it's interesting because it opens up new strat development. Did you just have
do you know what else would have? Yeah, do you know what else would have made me forgive all the good maps they took away?
League Start now.
Gorge.
Yeah.
It'd give me Gorge back in the process. I'd have been like, yeah, fuck it, let's go.
I mean, Canyon is basically like a little bit wider Gorge.
So
yeah, the Gorge was so.
One thing that just occurred to me: did they say what we're doing with the favorite maps? Like, are we just going to go down to only having 4, like with the favorite map system? Are we going to gain any more slots for favorited maps?
I don't think so.
I don't believe so, but also because of how that system works, adding more slots would only be bad.
Yeah. That's true.
Or it would be way too overpowered because you would still just put them all on the same map over and over.
Right,
again. You'd be stacking it to a broken level, or you'd be encouraged to use it on different maps, which would actually just hurt you.
Yeah.
So you don't
just
actually
leave it blank, or you just.
I'm actually surprised that they didn't mention the favorite map system at all. I think it was brought to their attention sufficiently in the podcasts during last week that people felt that the favorite map system was good once you actually had it, but at that point that's a little bit too late in your Atlas progression to actually be very impactful, and that it should be available a little bit earlier. And I actually hope that they're doing something like that. But we haven't seen anything in the patch notes. They probably would have mentioned it.
So what was just mentioned in chat, hadn't occurred to me until now. So the way that the favorited maps work, having 50 less maps is a massive buff to them.
Absolutely.
Because how that works is roll for a map drop, collect the tier, roll your Atlas bonus to find out if it goes up a tier, then pick a region that has that tier available, then apply the favorite slot. Right? So now we've gone only to 4 regions instead of 8, making it much more likely to pick the region that has your favorite in it. And then there are many less maps in that area, and the way that the favorite worked was it added 10 weighting to the drop pool of that map. So each map at that tier has a 1 weighted drop for it, like the number 1 is like its value, and 1 favorite slot adds 10 to that map. So instead of 1, it's 11. And when you put 3 on, it's 31.
Yep.
But if you remove 50 maps and 4 regions, that 31 in a 1 in 4 is out of 1 in 100 now instead, which is a lot of numbers, but it used to be 31 out of 1 in 8 out of 150, right? Like it's so it's far more likely to get your map now.
Makes a lot of at the very least, it makes a lot of sense why they would remove burial chambers from that.
I mean, let's be honest. You could maintain
from their
a single
perspective,
map
it makes
anyway.
Yeah.
I've been maintaining a single map for a long time, but yeah, it should be a lot easier to maintain your favorite maps now, like significantly. I really hadn't even thought about that until someone in chat mentioned it, and then I was like, shit, I understand how the whole Atlas works. I know how those drops work. That's actually insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good. I'm more and more looking forward to actually playing it.
Yeah.
They probably could have taken away 1 favorite slot and it might have still been a buff.
Yeah.
In terms of, I mean, there's not really that much to talk about with the favorite map system and everything. I think we covered it all. But in terms of Uber content, we're getting a lot. Like we're getting a fully reworked delve, right? Like even in permanent standard, you're gonna have your delve shaft completely reset. I mean, they do still remember the depth, and you can still, go to the same depth that you were at before, but you're getting a completely new mine because they completely revamped all the modifiers that can roll and the frequency with which certain areas and nodes appear, and that is tempting to. Well, that's something I'm looking forward to. But not only that, we're also getting a reworked Breach Lord's domains, where all the monsters drop like 1 additional reward type on the normal ones, and then we get the Uber Breach Stones, like the flawless ones, which you can only get from the Breach Lord Maven encounter, the invitation with the Breach Lords, if I understood correctly. And I was gonna quickly enumerate it all and quickly lay it out, but I think that's already so much to take in and talk about. Delve is gonna be crazy once again, I think.
I'm so pumped for Delve. Delve is already like my favorite thing to do, and the issue that I had with this, like I had so many. I've shown people a bunch because people have asked about, is it realistic to get fossils and stuff? After they read the guide, and I recommend, for like Coldot specifically, all these dense and frigid fossils, people are like, yeah, but in SSF, how realistic is it to get it? And I open it up and I show them I played like 4 weeks in SSF and I have 400 fossils in the tab. But I do point out, Tujin was completely broken for getting fossils this league. It was obscene. So I'm really happy to be moving more fossils into Delve specifically because it felt like Delve was a waste of your time.
Well, outside of resonators, you were always starved on resonators, and you needed to delve for that Azurite to buy those resonators.
It also felt like it was, even after the buffs that they've done over time, it never felt worth the investment to get to the point where delve was relevant.
Yep.
I'm just like, I'm going to lose like a day and a half just getting to content that's rewarding. Not even challenging yet. Just getting to somewhere where something relevant might drop for me, unless I get really lucky going through a minion node or a physical node or something.
Like, yeah, right. And now you just farm to level 90 and you'll be dropped off at depth like 130 or something like that.
Well, it's 101 and then you only have to go I think they said you only have to go 44 depths now total to go from, if you're at 90, I think you get dropped off at 101 and I think it's 145 now or or maybe 155. So you got to go about 50 delve to be at 8 monster level 83. It's really good now.
Yeah, which means I'm going to do slightly differently than what I've done in the past. In the past, I've like entered Delve like 2 or 3 times total just to spend the points and increase the cap. And then I use that cap to level alts because it's fun. And that's all I ever do with it.
Also, I feel like this didn't get enough credit, but they mentioned the cap now is doubled to start. Yeah, and I think they said you reach the max at like 6 upgrades now. So the process of storing your sulfite is gonna that upgrade process is gonna be so nice.
I think I understood it the other way around. I don't think it's only 6 upgrades to get to the absolute max, but I think it takes 6 upgrades to line up with where you were before after 6 upgrades, right?
Okay.
Because you first start, instead of with 600, you start with 1200, which is insanely good, because then you don't have to go into Delve while leveling at all. You only have to go into Delve when you're in maps and you get your first Nico, and then it fills up. Like pre-maps, unless you're repeatedly farming and getting super lucky with spamming Nikos, like you shouldn't cap out on those 1200 sulfite.
Okay.
So the deal now, for anyone wondering how to be efficient with that, is basically you will still go to Delve whenever you fill up your bar. You will head, it doesn't matter what direction anymore, just for Azurite and as much of it as you can get, and you'll use that to increase the cap, and then you'll just head back to maps. You will not worry about anything except increasing the cap, so you don't have to go back until you get to level 90.
Yep.
And then once you're at level 90, he will have drilled down to the deepest he's go, and that's where you care about starting to go down. So anything you have to spend before level 90, just grab Azurite, unless there's some super efficient node somewhere that's like one of the really good ones that you like. I might just dip in and see if that physical node drops me a vulnerability ring for my physical build or whatever, or the minion node because I'm leveling specters. By the way, don't do that. They killed them. But maybe like other minions that are still okay. Right? Like do those if you see them, but Azurite, and that's it to level 90.
Like the fact with the deep delving now. So they said Delve 500 would be kind of the same as like Delve 1000 in the past league. Like a Delve 1500 is like equivalent to a Delve 6000, you know? Mm-hmm. So when I think about like, I'm a Delve fan, you know, like the Nico missions are always the first one that I end up having 0 on my Atlas, right? It's always like priority wise. First I do Nico, then I do usually Bestiary because I just have those extra ads in there. Usually Incursion is something I never use master missions on because the extra time that I spend in the map whatsoever. So I really like Delve, and every time I'm like full, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper, right? But the problem is, when do you say or talk about deep delve? I would say somewhere around 1,000, maybe 1,500, right? So if I have a normal approach to delve and I just go into the mine every time my sulfite is capped based on like Atlas missions or randomly appeared on the map, right? Then you end up being like somewhere 400 maybe, right? So if you want to like really invest into Delve, like I have a friend of mine that is deep Delver main, like he's going insanely nuts every single league, you know, he's like going past like 15,000. So these kind of levels, right? Really the end game, or at least ridiculous, right? But I think like after 6,000 or 2,000, there is no more scaling. You just go deeper and deeper without any big changes at all. But anyways, these are like CHPS builds and whatnot. You know, it's a complete different archetype of build to actually go in that content. But the thing is like, if I'm now on a normal level on Delve 400 and I know deep delving starts at 1,500, am I willing to spend like resources and currency to go another 900 death? That will probably take me over a week to get to this point and a lot of currency to then say, I reach deep delve, I'm able to farm that, and now I can make the profit back. So when I say about that, when now 500 is same as like 1,000 from in the back league, right? I can see myself going from 400 to 500 or from 350 to 500 or 600. I can see that. It's like 150 levels. I got this, you know? But if I think about I'm now 400 and I want to go to deep delve, which is like over 1,000. Do I see myself going another 600 deaths within a reasonable amount of time? No, I don't see that. And that's why usually a lot of people stay away from this like deep delve just because the amount of currency that you need to actually get the amount of sulfite, all the scarabs, like all of that, it's just so much work, and you really have to commit to delving only more or less to actually reach those levels. And this was like only accessible for for those kind of players that really admit, or at least commits to delve at all, right? If you're like having a more casual approach and you want to do like your guardians and your like Saurus when it pops up, when you want to do all of these kind of things, you never got to the point where you could actually get to deep delve, right? And now it's more accessible. So within like 3 or 4 days, really grinding on delve, you could get down to deep delve and get the profit out of it, I would say.
And you can get these crazy items now. They actually have delve mods drop as fractured mods. Like they said, extremely rarely, but it can happen. That looks insanely good. Like we have
the item showcases we're going to see on the Reddit this league are going to be absolutely disgusting.
Yeah,
it's going to be obscene. Like you're gonna borderline feel bad about yourself with some of the items you're going to see this league. It's going to be like you're going to see delve fractured items that then have like Scourge mods for like triple damage. Like it's going to be.
Yeah, and those items will exist, and we're gonna love to own those items, but we will probably not. And that's the reason why I think it's good that as soon as you Scourge an item, it is corrupted.
Yep.
What that means is you cannot mirror it anymore. So there's not going to be people that having the undisputed best items in their mirror shops and just printing currency for free. These are going to be one-of-a-kind items.
I haven't thought about that at all, I have to admit. Yeah. I haven't thought about because as a mostly SSF player, I don't really think about these mirror dynamics and stuff like that. But you're right, the best items are not going to be mirrorable anymore.
Exactly, because they're corrupted. And the problem is in Trade League that you always have, if you're playing on a higher level, I would say, you will always have those groups of crafters that are controlling the market more or less. They're gonna like buy the best bases. They're gonna put currency together and buy the best bases that ever existed. For example, back in the days, it was like a synthesized weapon with Explo mod on it, a wand, for example. Those items could go for a mirror just for the white base, Item level 86, like a wand with Explo mod on it, where people go to those persons and be like, yo, I'll pay you 1 exalt, but let me make a copy of it. Not like a mirror copy, but the, the one fossil where it just completely random outcome, but this item is going to be mirrored at the end, Yeah, fractured fossil.
Or you could also use a split beast, right?
Not really. I don't think that you can split bases when they're synthesized. No.
No, true. No. And if not, if they're synthesized.
But as I said, like the problem is that usually the top end level of players, they're gonna have a majority of the best items in the game, and they just printing currency for free more or less because people are gonna mirror all of their stuff, and every time they pay like a fee. So all the crafting process for future items are gonna be taken from the community, basically, right? It's not like that I say it's unfair or anything. This is all well deserved. But what I say is, if those items that gonna have like insane Scourge implicits and stuff like that, these items gonna be a one of a kind, and that's why I like that they are actually corrupted.
Yeah, great point. I hadn't considered that. It's gonna be even more of that feeling that Chris always promotes when he says that items are really important in Path of Exile, and you want to feel like you have something that's really good and you have something that other people don't have. And that's gonna be, I mean, your items are certainly gonna have more identity, more uniqueness to them.
Yeah, but there's also like this RNG problem that you're gonna have. Quivers, for example. Remember on the PoE website when you clicked on this button and the website changed and you saw more items than before?
Yeah.
So there was a quiver, the Maloney's mechanism or whatever. Yep. But the fact is there was a Scourge mod on his bow attacks fire an additional arrow. So that is insane for a bow build, like absolutely ridiculous stat, like one of the best features you can have, right? So, and now you see those two sides. First of all, this is not going to be a guaranteed mod. Of course not. It's going to be weighted. It's going to be rare. So there will some people be that just throw in their random quiver and just hit it and be like, yo, one attack, it's insane. But there's going to be the other side that are crafting mirror tier items and have a chance 1 out of 3 to make this item actually have this additional arrow as the implicit. And if they don't hit it, I mean, the item is not ruined, but, getting this +1 arrow has just so much more impact. So this +1 arrow is definitely better on a weak item, I would say. I would consider taking the weak item instead, just to have this additional arrow rather than not having the additional arrow on a top tier item, more or less. Because of the quality of life that you get. So it's going to be some very interesting gambling to risk your insane strong items just to gamble to hit the best implicit or Scourge mod.
The big thing you missed there is you can ruin the item, though. You can get,
at least for yourself.
Imagine you've made a really good dex stacking bow, and then on your final roll, trying to get an additional arrow on your bow, it hits. You deal no cold damage. now the item's just gone.
All right, this
time
is
to
like
make a cold to fire conversion.
So on the topic of crazy crafting and like insane items, can we talk really briefly about the passive tree for the new league? Because after watching a I have a theory here. After watching the reveal a bunch of times and listening very carefully, when Ziggy asked Chris and he said, "Are we going to be able to scourge other items other than like armor and weapons?" Chris said, he says something like, "I think it's just equipment and weapons." And then he looks at the team, right? And the team says something, and he looks back, and he very specifically says, "Not jewels and flasks." That was his final answer, okay? So he says, you cannot scourge jewels and flasks. If you look at that tree, the 10th, so if you go down to like the 4th column on the passive tree for the league, and you look at that first one on the left, that looks like a fossil. And if you look at this, no.
Oh wait, you mean the mastery tree for the Scourge thing, right? With the Scourge on league progression. The Scourge passive tree. I think it's the 4th one down on the left. It looks like a fossil, the blood
right?
Crucible. I'm gonna bring it up on the screen. 4th one on the left, you said, right?
Yep. So yeah, he's about to scroll down there. So it looks like a fossil. Actually, no. Is that the image right there? Yeah, you can see it on the bottom there. That he's covering it up right now.
Oh, right. The thing underneath. Okay.
Yeah, he's covering it up right now. So
the thing that we see here.
Yeah.
Basically, wait. We're gonna scroll.
So again,
here this one that does look a little bit
right. Okay. So hear me out here. So there's already going to be a different. That's like people were saying that's going to be the slot because it's a 0 out of 1. That's going to be the option that lets you put a map in the device, but that's not it because there's that dream furnace thing. Like that's how you're going to unlock the map transformations. My theory is the final slot in the Scourge, like the Blood Crucible window, because you end up with 2 equipment slots and you end up with a map below it. I think there's going to be an unlockable 4 slot where you're going to be able to scourge fossils and get fossil combinations that we couldn't get before. Like for instance, if you scourge, like right now, if you go scorch fossil, right, you're going to get fire and it's going to turn off cold. I think you're going to be able to use that once you allocate it and put fossils in there, and you'll be able to get fossil combinations that we've never been able to get before. So crafting is going to be nuts.
It's highly speculative, and I think not, but I'd be very hyped to see that if that's the case.
The more that's one of those that's like a conclusion I got to after watching that Q&A, after watching how Chris answered that thing like 4 times. He could not have more specifically not said you can't do it with fossils.
Well, I mean, fossils are currencies, though. Like, you can't add implicit modifiers to currencies. I would be highly surprised if you could. But it's a nice speculation, and it would be cool if that happens. I've always wanted to have resonators with, like, an essence slot, for example. That would be really cool. If you had, like, a resonator where you could put 2 or 3 fossils and then 1 essence to guarantee an essence mod. I know there's the fossil that gives a random essence modifier, but that's not very specific. That's a very, very high-risk gamble. Quick question on the Blood Crucible passive tree. Do we know whether that's character-bound or account-bound?
No, it's account-bound.
It's account-bound.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, you wouldn't want people to have to restart it when they...
I actually kind of wish it was character-bound. Is that crazy?
Yeah, the thing is, like, what is the experience? Like, we're going to level up this tree, right? The more monsters we slay throughout the entire league, it's like leveling experience, right? And every, like, I don't know, let's just say any number, every 10 million experience, you're going to unlock 1 additional tree. Do you really, like, if you farm this on the first character on League Start, there's people that switch builds quite often. Me, for example. I would never be able to get anywhere close to where I would like to get if this is not account bound. And all these things that you see here, I might think that you might unallocate passive trees. Like, doesn't have to be regrets, but what if you left click to skill and right click to unskill? Because obviously these are bonuses to everything, but maybe some bonuses have drawbacks, and you just, for some reason, you want to unskill something in this tree. Because your goal would be that you, at some point in a league, I don't know how much experience it's going to take, to have this entire skill tree fully skilled, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this would be a good idea to just reset this every single time when you level a new character. Wasn't it with Delve in the past that every character had its own Delve progression and Sulfite cap and whatnot? That was a massive change when it was account-wide then. Because then you could literally have characters that farm Sulfite, a mapping character, and then lock to your Delving character and start Delving again, right? Like, that was like one of the best changes. And I think those account-wide features are a lot better than these character-bound features. If you have the option to unskill certain things, if you need to or have to for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I also hope that it would be account bound, because if you're playing hardcore and you die, you don't want to start over that thing all the time, right? Especially if you're like a relatively mediocre hardcore player like I am. So
yeah, but that's why you start softcore now, because you realize and now you're going to improve.
Yeah, but in general, how do you guys feel on gonna improve? I'm gonna go hardcore softcore degen, dude. I'm not gonna improve. I'm gonna deteriorate. I'm gonna become like an absolute 5-head. But what did I want to say? How do we feel about the amount of power increase from a league progression system? Because I don't think we had something like that quite in the past. Maybe Delve is the one that compares the most, where you had to really pour a lot of time into interacting with the league mechanic until you got to the part that's super rewarding. But in this league specifically, someone who already played like 100 hours will have way more gains from interacting with the league mechanic because of the passive tree than someone who just started playing the league.
Yeah, this passive tree scales rewards like crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is that something that we want as a crucial part of leagues, or is that something that, because we also have that with Expedition, but there was more like a character thing, not an account thing, because obviously your currency was worth more interacting with the Expedition vendors if you did it on a high level character, because you got higher level bases, you got better currency from Tujen and so on. But yeah,
I think the only thing that feels weird to me about the passive tree, I really like the idea of having like a league, like a way to modify the rewards of that league. Like the idea of the passive tree looks cool to me. It is super weird to me that there is no cap on the amount of passes we can take in that. Like, have we ever had a system where you can just get absolutely, like the fact that there's essentially, if you had unlimited time, there's no real choice to be made because you're going to unlock everything. The choice is going to be the best. The only choices are kind of the best order to unlock them in, because there's no caps. So there's no way to, like, there's no impetus to specialize in a specific part of scourging, because you're eventually going to get, if you play enough, you're just going to get it all.
Well, I mean, so if you play in a guild or like with a group, then it would make sense that different people specialize into different aspects of the passive mastery.
That's what I mean. Like, that would be a cool way to do it, but that's only going to happen until you get to probably about maps when you're all just going to have the same passes at some point. You know what I mean? Like, there's no actual specialization within the tree because you can eventually unlock it all. That was the only reason I said, like, I asked, is it weird if I wish it was character bound? Just because that might even give you more of an impetus to swap between characters and play other characters. If, I've got my attacker I've got like a melee build who also has the tree unlocked specifically for weapons. So that's the only part that I don't necessarily love about it.
Yeah, but that's the reason why we have these new gloves introduced, right? Nearby enemies that get killed by party or whatever counts as you would have killed them. So your Atlas counts, kind of? I don't know.
What? Is that so? I think the Atlas passes only matter for the map owner.
Yeah, probably. True.
However, my biggest thing about those gloves, by the way, is that it says instead, not as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just happen to have a pair of them in your inventory, and your friend is like a headhunter juice stacker who's trying to get through a map, and you go in with him, you can just put the gloves on and fuck his whole build.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You kill nothing now. No headhunter
Anti-support
buffs for you,
build.
bitch.
Yeah.
My
Also,
first,
put a headhunter on your support and then just run around behind him, giving even more auras, but taking all the buffs.
my first idea was magic find abuse. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to make a magic finder, stacking all the magic find that I can find, put on those gloves, and somebody else without magic find is going to kill the
Yeah.
monsters, and it's going to be my loot, you know?
Oh.
Yeah.
Abusing magic find with
That
it.
sounds
But the
like it
question
would
is
work.
always like, yeah, but the problem is it says nearby. And this is always like, how big is nearby? You know,
Yeah.
is it one screen?
Yeah.
Is it two screens? Usually it's like somewhere
Well-
around one screen. But we all know, or at least for the people that know how like headhunter builds work and off-screening works, none of that will ever count because they are not nearby. You're not gonna even see the monsters. You're just gonna go there and pick up the loot. So, but yeah, magic find would be my first guess with that. Or what a friend of mine told me, you could use that with exploding chest for minion builds. Since not your minions kill them, you kill them. So they gonna explode if you have an impulsor, for example. So that would enable exploding for minion builds. And those were the first two things that we came up with, like discussing for like 10 seconds about the new gloves. I was like, magic find. He was like, yo, exploding for minions. But of course, there are gonna be other like super interesting mechanics that you can use it. But the thing is still, it says nearby. So the question is, how big is nearby?
Yeah. Oh man, poor Zizaran was on Twitter, was getting
He
his
was
hopes
losing
up.
his mind.
No, he was getting his hopes up that it would enable Null's Inclination, the bow
Oh,
that
yeah,
triggers socketed minion skills on kills with this weapon, which I was like instantly, dude, that's not gonna work because it just says count as killed by you. When you poison something, it's also counts as killed by you, but it doesn't count as a kill with the weapon. So unless they change the wording on the bow, I'm afraid it's not gonna work, and we're gonna have to wait until PoE 2 when we can finally cyclone with a bow, and then Nulls will be viable again.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the main topic that we actually discussed with this. Do we want to have a thing like that we can build up? I think I was talking about mechanics like that quite often, but I would say don't make this overpowered. You know, don't give somebody the feeling if they just about to start the league because they were on vacation, they had to work, and they are starting league 2 weeks later. Don't give them the feeling, yo, I've missed 2 weeks of the league. That means everybody else has such a massive advantage that me, dude, I cannot get back on track. So I'm just, you know what, I'm gonna wait for next league. You know,
I mean, you're not losing more because you're losing the same amount of progression per time. It just, I mean, it feels bad if you compare yourself to other people, but you always have to think that other people were also at the point where they didn't complete these things, right? Like everyone goes through the phase of not having any points in the Crucible, I think.
Yeah, then let's say it like that. I just hope that these skill points are weak point by point, but in the overall, once you're done everything, you're gonna notice it, but not in an insane way, because then everybody that spends a lot of time will have like so much better results, and somebody that doesn't.
What do you
have
think
this
would be
unlocked,
fair in power level if you have a fully unlocked Crucible passive tree? What do you think would be fair? 50% more power, 100% more power, 200% more?
I would more say like 25.
Right.
Tops.
So that's not the important number. You're both thinking about it wrong. Right? Okay, that's not the important number. Here's the important number. However much stronger you get because of this, let's just call that 100%, right? That's 100% of the increase. The way to do that where it's like pretty reasonable is you put 50% of the increase in the first 25% of the points. Right? And then like
right. Yeah,
35% of the increase in the next 25% of the points, and then
So
the
you get
rest of the
the
increase
biggest
in the
power
last-
spike in the early points, basically.
Yes.
And they did say that you're going to get like a proportionally more unlocks and experience as you go through like Acts 1 through 10. Like Chris mentioned, he said something about like, I think he actually said you're going to unlock most of it by the time you reach maps. He said you're going to hit a lot of it. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be.
He did also say that it was going to take a while to unlock the last ones.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think when you get to the later stages, it'll start to slow down heavily. A a lot like the leveling curve does. So I don't think it's not like an equivalent amount of XP through or even close to it.
What I want is for it to be very easy to get like the first 25% of power, and then everyone who plays and continues to play once they get to maps will definitely get the next 25%.
Yeah.
Then anyone that keeps playing for a week or two, even as a casual, will be up to like 70% of the total power that it gives, right?
And the latest.
That's a very sharp point, though.
Yeah, then you can make that end grind to get the last 25% of its power upgrade. You can make that really long. Like, you can make that so long that most casuals don't get it. So long as they get the brunt of it, and I'm working extra hard and long hours to get like the little bit extra, that's fine.
So we know that one of the end game grind challenges would be unlock your entire passive skill.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be in there.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. Like, good.
Go ahead. Even the numbers ramp, like as the XP goes up, it also the numbers ramp down. Like the beginning ones where it's like they get more percent corruption, that's like 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever. The last few stages from what we've seen so far, those ones are like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10%. So even numerically, the final bonuses are much lower chance.
Yeah, which is how it should be. Like,
yeah.
That it gets really grindy towards the end, where you still get improvements, but they're small. Just like with min-maxing builds or min-maxing your Atlas.
Yeah,
you get the biggest power early, and then later on,
great.
That's a little bit.
What I don't want is for me to be done with the entire thing by day 3. like how disappointing would that be?
Yeah,
but it's if you make it like a linear progression. If you want casuals to be able to finish it at all, I will be done by day 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that
I think like
you can't do it that way.
In the best case, like it works exactly like 1 to level 100. Getting a character to level 90 is fairly easy. You can do that in like depending on your gear and your setup and whatnot. But I say like, I don't know, League Day 3, 4, you should be somewhere level 90, even though it was League start and you didn't start with a tabby and you didn't start with any under 6 link or anything. So level 90 on day 4 is something definitely reachable, right? But if we say now, okay, what about like most of my characters, since I'm switching builds a lot, maximum is like 95-ish. So 95 to 100, especially 98 to 100 is like, that's a grind, I don't think it's a grind from level 1 to 95. But at the back end, it takes like hilarious amounts of time. And when I think like, if we have the same amount of experience needed to fill up your Scourge Atlas or Scourge skill tree, that's fine. Because in the end, it's account-wide. So the next character that I'm playing will also spend his experience on that pool. And eventually, at like 3 or 4 weeks into the league, I might be able to hit level 99. And then there is like one more skill point that I will still unlock in the next 2 weeks because it takes freak ton of time, but I will get it.
Yeah.
And I think like the overall experience, I don't know, like it's hard to say because I think level 1 to 98 is the same amount of experience than from 98 to 100. I think the last 2 levels have the same experience as all the 98 levels before. But in combination with all the characters that I usually play and all of them hitting somewhere level 93, 94 and whatnot, I'm pretty sure that after week 2, you would have a level 100 character based on the total amount of experience farmed. If you don't count in 10% experience loss with dying. So that's a softcore thing. Catmaster doesn't know about that with the experience loss. He will learn about that.
No, what is experience loss? I never noticed.
Like people get stuck in softcore with level 94. That's it.
Yeah.
Experience.
No, I was joking. I've lost spots on the ladder because I lost experience by dying.
Oh, yeah.
Because that goes still through. When you die, you lose 10%, even though you're out of the league. Like I was hoping that, before I learned that, I was hoping that you have the same XP on the ladder. It's just your character that loses the XP when they're in softcore, but you lose it right the moment when you die. So it's still on the hardcore ladder. You still lose that.
What you've lost is actual game experience because you play hardcore solo self-found. so you don't get to play like 80% of the game.
Yeah, it's tough. Don't meme on me. I'm playing hard mode, basically. Oh, hard mode. That's something we need to cover in a future podcast because it's not going to be out on League Start.
No, it's not. Can I take like 30 seconds on it? That's
sure.
the only other thing I got from watching the Q&A. I hope I don't have any information on this like official info, but the way that he described when they want to release it lines up almost directly with the Gauntlet. They mentioned that it's going to be They want it for testing. It's not a permanent thing. They want testing. And ideally, if you're GGG, you want as many softcore players to give it a try as possible because that's the majority of your player base. That's when the majority of the softcore players get in their hardcore experiences during the gauntlet. And he actually corrected himself when we were talking about when they would release it. He was like, if you know it's going to be 2 weeks into the league, and then he's like, no, actually, it'd be more like 6 weeks into the league. That's exactly when we have the gauntlet. So my prediction is we're going to see Shopify hard mode this league. That'll be the gauntlet mode. Is basically they can get a ton of thousands of softcore players in testing hard mode as well.
Oh my god! Imagine if they do the gauntlet this league in hard mode.
I'm telling you, that's exactly what's going to happen.
It would be super fun. I'm not super sure that they're going to do that the first time that hard mode's around. Because I specifically know that like Zizran and a lot of other people who are looking forward to hard mode are looking forward to hard mode trade because of the extreme item scarcity. But because of the implications of party play, you won't see a trade gauntlet, I'm pretty sure, because of, competitive and prices and stuff like that. It's too hard to enforce certain solo rules, I think. Oh, I don't know. I'm not involved in the organization. Maybe they find a great way to do it. I still wanted to cover a little bit of the patch notes before we have to round things off.
Can I still say something about this gauntlet?
Huh? You want to? Yeah. Sure. I didn't mean to.
Am I the only one? Am I the only one that misses events like Flashback and Turmoil and those kind of things?
I do, but I think we're gonna get them for Christmas again, like last year.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of, in my opinion, disappointing that GGG relies on somebody like Cizeran doing a kind of a private league that turned out to be a GGG thing in a little terms of sense because it's not a private league anymore and stuff like that. I think it's actually GGG's job to get those events running after a certain amount of time, let's say 6, 7, 8 weeks into the league, and then spice it up with those events, because as I have like really good memories about like Flashback and stuff like that, like super fun mods, and I did enjoy, even though I was like pretty much done with the league itself and I was like about to switch to another game and wait for next league, but hey, then there was Flashback and I was like, yo, this is gonna be fun, I'm gonna play that, I think like the gauntlet is more leaned towards like the hardcore solo cell phone players, which is not a bad thing, but I would like to have a gauntlet for softcore players, for example. I would like to have the option to play the game in a fun mode the way I want to approach the game. And for me as a softcore player, I played the gauntlet like twice and I still haven't made it to maps yet. Of course, it is the hardest mode that you can play, the gauntlet, and hardcore and everything. But I still would like to have, for example, a gauntlet softcore, where I still have all these stupid shit mods enabled in a good way. But I still, if I die, I die, and I keep on going because I have the goal. I want to finish the game with the gauntlet mods on until Cyrus, for example. And I think it's actually GGG's job to provide that. I just don't know. When was the last time we had Flashback?
You should just join one of our Gauntlet practice leagues. We do like Gauntlet softcore trade versions of the Gauntlet all the time, leading up to the Gauntlet, just practicing so that you don't get hard reset when you die, that you can play a little bit looser and, test how much damage that hit would do if you were to stand still and this and that. So, I'm
everywhere, but I think Synthesis League was the last time we had an actual Flashback, I think. Besides
an
the
actual
Delph
Flashback,
thing.
Yeah, but we had like last Christmas we had the Endless Delph and we had Mayhem, and was there a Turmoil or what was the other thing? So I think that was pretty good, and I'm happy if they do it at least once a year. I do understand that they don't want to commit like a lot of development time to it, but the Christmas time seems like the perfect time for them to do it.
Yeah,
I don't think it requires a lot of development, to be honest, because everything they have in those leagues we already had in the game. So
not development time per se, but like organization of these events is more than just putting out the event. You need to promote it. You need to maybe have a price structure or stuff like that. I mean, at this point, GGG can't get away with like just putting out an event and having no prices and having no like special level of community interaction. So I'm happy.
Fair enough, I guess.
I'm happy with the place that it's in if we get it at least once a year, I'd say. I guess I lowered my expectations by a lot.
I miss the things like Cutthroat League and Descent Champions and stuff like that. Those are the ones that I want to see again. I don't really mind that much that we don't have like mayhem and flashback and shit like that anymore. It's the other weird ones. Those are the ones that I miss because we can't do them. We can't make them.
He just wants to kill people this league. That's all I'm hearing. Everything he suggested is just ways to do player killing. Cutthroat, link skills.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy. Now though, we're transitioning into the patch notes. Is there anything that stands out to anyone? I'll just start. I'll just start and give you the entire list of quality of life changes that I wrote down, where I'm like, this is insane. So what we're gonna get, best quality of life changes in 3.16. We get Expedition going core. Expedition artifacts are going to be auto pickup, right? So easier loot on that part. Stackable items like currency and stuff, they actually drop in stacks now at the end of encounters. So at the end of your Breachlord's domain, at the end of your Delve node, at the end of your incursion and all of that stuff, you get an entire pile of loot, and not like single alchemy and wisdom scrolls, but everything that can stack will drop in a stack. And then they added more stacking functionality. Now map fragments, scarabs, and incubators can stack to 10. Right. We get gem socket notches for the colorblind people, which has been requested basically since they went away in early 2014 or something like that. So that's really happy. I'm happy for all the colorblind players. Shout out to Project PT. He's probably going to be very happy about those gem socket notches coming back. And then you get these massive guild stash improvements where you can control click from inventory into guild stash. You can shift click to withdraw. We have unlimited access to all hideout decorations that were from Favor, because Favor system is going away completely and you can just get hideout decorations for free. You can now control whether Maven releases all bosses at once, because now it's a mod on invitation. And you're never going to have all bosses at once unless you want to. And I'm going smaller and smaller because you can also now promote a party member to replace you as the leader of the party. So it's not random when you leave your party who's going to be the leader after you, but you can actually pick someone as a leader and then leave, which is also really good. And then two more things. I got two more things. If a hideout closes with portals still open, like previously your hideout instance could close while you're in a map, and then you would get cannot connect to instance or something like that. Couldn't get out of your map. You would log out, go back into your hideout, your map is gone. That's not going to happen anymore. Your maps are not going to time out. You can stay 5, 10, 20 hours in your hideout while your map is open. The portals will stay open, and the timeout for the map will not happen unless you are gone for a significant amount of time, right? But what happened previously was that the timer would expire, and the moment that you leave your hideout with the timer expired and your map still open, the map would close, and once you come back, it's closed. Now, when you leave your hideout, it resets the map timeout timer, so that you have 8 to 10 minutes until you can come back to your hideout, and your map will still be open. And number one, no more Uberlap trials. We can just directly first offering we can go into Uberlap.
The best.
That one's the best.
That's the best.
Those are all good.
That's why I kept it for the last one.
That's amazing.
Like everything else doesn't matter. I mean, they're all good. They're all good. The goddamn map trials, man.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% happy with that, but I think it's better than what it was previously. It's a straight improvement over what we had.
I mean, usually you join Global A20, or especially for us streamers, it's for me, trials were never a problem. I have a list on my stream with the trials that I miss, and eventually some people will whisper me yo, I have the Burning Rage trial you want to join. I join, I get it completed, I have everything done in within 15 minutes on the second day of the league start when I want to go, and if I feel strong enough to get into Uberlab. So I think it's really good, because it was annoying to do all those challenges or trials beforehand, because sometimes, I think they mentioned it anyways, if you're unlucky, you had to run 150 maps to get all the 6 done, That
was the average.
Yeah, and I think it was good that you could open singles, what is it, Divine Vessels or something to open trials, or was it Sacrifice Fragments, something like that, where you could actually open trials and just spend a couple of those and just continuously do it until you had all of those. But I think
you could use the offerings of the goddess, but you wouldn't get an offering back from the trials that you opened.
Yeah,
so at a certain
or was
point,
it this way? But they introduced a system where you could just open those trials from your hideout and just continuously do that until you find the last one that you pretty much still need, right? But I think there is one good thing about it. They want to like reduce the effort of doing lab, because we kind of know that in PoE 2, lab is not going to be necessary or mandatory anymore to get your ascendancy points, right? And I personally, I don't know a lot of people that say, dude, lab is the best thing ever in the game. Like the most people that I know, they hate lab. They do it 4 times per character to unlock their ascendancies, and then they are out of there, you know? And that's why I also hate the fact that they removed my form of lab running, which was enchanted fossils. I really don't like the fact that they removed enchanted fossils, because this is how I found my lab enchants, you know? Not for helmets, but for boots and stuff like that. I was just buying 50 enchanted fossils, be like, yo, I'm going to get the 10% damage pen on my boots, you know? I never go in there for lab. But yeah, overall, I mean, I get the offering. The trials are still going to be there, because this is the form that you can get your offerings early on, right? Without any league mechanics or something like that. But yeah, I think I would just hope that in 3.17 lab is just gone. But it's just me, you know, like, that's just me. I cannot wait until...
It's going to be gone in PoE 2.
Not gone. Still, we are going to have our enchants, but I don't want to see myself going lab all the time for getting my ascendancy points. I would like to have, if I'm a Delpher, why is there no ascendancy Delph notes where I can say, okay, I spent the same amount of time in Delph and get my ascendancy over there? Or there is a level 3 incursion temple room where I can click on a table and then I get one ascendancy unlocked, because it takes also a lot of time to farm incursions over and over again to get this room and to open your temple, because then on the next page I can say I go PoE trade, I buy the temple that has the room level 3 open, and I just buy my ascendancies right there, like whatever. I just want to have more options because I hate lab. And yeah,
no, that's completely fair. I mean, I know in PoE 2 we're gonna have the different ways to get our ascendancy, and maybe some of that will already seep into PoE 1. I mean, things are going faster than I expected. They're already removing Perandus this league. They're probably gonna remove Prophecy next league, because they already said that Navali is not going to be around for too long. So this league, Expedition is going core. Perandus is leaving for that. So probably next league, Ultimatum comes back, right? They already said Ultimatum may make a comeback in 3.17. And if not, then maybe this league, Scourge goes core. And then they're probably going to rotate out Prophecy at the very least. Maybe 2 things go core. Yeah, maybe something else gets removed as well. With respect to our time limit, Shak, do you have anything that stands out to you from the patch notes other than the quality of life changes that I just mentioned, and the fact that we got patch notes this super early?
Yeah, the patch notes early is great. I do, in terms of, speaking of like reverse quality of life, it's weird that they made changes to the balance stuff, right? Obviously, we knew that the whole reason for releasing it early was we're going to give feedback, they're going to iterate on it. But there was no like list of here's what it's just go in. Like I had to pull up on stream. I had like patch notes open and the balance change open. You got to go through literally line by line, which is terrible because they both have different margins. So they don't scroll at the same rate, which was horrendous. So you've got to scroll different rates to compare the balance changes and the patch notes. And like I'm scrolling through them and I'm like, oh, they nerfed Rhyme Gaze like a lot. Like the ES on Rhyme Gaze, they nerfed it a lot. That wasn't in the balance proposal. You just have to find it hidden in the patch notes. So it's one thing when patch notes release and you're looking in the unique changes section, but when they do all the balance changes, there wasn't like a summary of it, so that was rough to get through. But in general, having patch notes this early was incredible. Obviously, we know like a lot of generally what's going to be in there because of the reveal and all that, but being able to look through them early was just such a stress relief as like a content creator and build creator.
Slight sidetrack. Are you happy with the state of Cold Dot that you project for 3.16? I mean, we don't know everything yet, but
yeah, I'm very optimistic. I was optimistic before. I think it's going to be even better. Like, I think it's going to be stupid, quite frankly, with the tree, because the biggest constraint that Cold Dot had, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. The biggest constraint Cold Dot had was the passive tree. Like I said, there is nothing on the tree that I want to take, that I can take. It's all 100% mandatory. Like I said, I'm going from Divine Judgment to the Fingers of Frost. So the idea that I can just be like, hey, you have options now. We have options if you want to go for damage or defense, all that. I'm super pumped. I'm very optimistic about it.
Yeah, that's fair. Balor, do you think character defenses are going to be in a good place now?
Let's just say yes. I actually think they might be way too good.
Tempest Shield? Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, 18% block for 25%, like 18% spell block.
Unbelievably good.
Yeah.
We're gonna be able to get full block cap without glancing blows by accident. It's insane.
Yeah, shields can have so much block now as well because you can get up to like 16% chance to block on the suffix.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. It's insane.
I actually think once everyone gets used to it and all the build guides in the world get updated, I think it's good. We're going to be incredibly tanky compared to what we're used to. I think the good builds that abuse it the right way, like Toxic Rain Champions, for instance, are going to be damn near immortal.
Yep. Divine Shield and capped block may make this build immortal. Divine Shield is completely broken. Like, I was getting people angrily DMing me when I suggested that it might be 3% to 5%, saying that there's no way it couldn't possibly be that. It's going to be terrible. And yeah, it's nuts.
Divine Shield's looking really good.
That won't be all you have, though, because you'll also have 10 or 15,000 evasion and 30,000 armor at the same time.
Yep.
And that, I mean, maybe those numbers are a bit high. Maybe you end up with like 8,000 evasion and 20,000 armor.
Yeah.
Like on top of that. Like, it's just, no, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Depending on how much fizz reduction you have, the evasion might actually be counterproductive because you don't get as much regen from the Divine Shield. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Shaq.
No, you're fine. One thing that we had a lot of fun with in POB so far was just using that 4 anoint amulet to anoint like charisma and sovereignty, just to anoint every single notable for reduced reservation. It was disgusting. It was completely bonkers. That was one of the most powerful things I've ever put into a POB. Yeah.
The stat got also so much better. The stat that where they changed reduced reservation to increased reservation efficiency at low numbers, it's so much better than it was before.
Yep.
Great. We're running out of time. Let's do one closing round real quick and combine 2 questions. So one would be, what is something that you expected to see addressed in the patch notes, but that didn't get addressed? And because I hate asking that question, but now we have patch notes, so I can actually ask it, and that's something that everyone wants to know. If you'd be hard pressed, like if I put a gun to your head right now and you had to play Scourge, what build would you level? We'll start with mbXtreme. 2-part question. Go.
So yeah, I also like the patch notes, by the way. And the thing is, like, I'm almost certainly sure I love Ignite builds. I always did. I think Fire Burst was like the best auto bomber feeling that I ever had, or one of the best. Seeing Ignite buffed again, seeing Fire Burst buffed again, seeing the options that we have. Okay, we lose Elemental Equilibrium, but we're gonna have so much power spike through the masteries or through the, like, some fire dot multi things got just doubled. You know, like on the normal jewels, for example, the rare jewels, more or less. You had like 3 to 4 fire dot multi. Now it's 6 to 8. That just doubled, you know. So I know that I could probably make Fire Burst playable again. And the thing, it doesn't even require a 6-link. It has immense clearing, and now with the Flame Surge buff that some people forget about, leaving this burning ground on the boss for additional burning damage from ignites and stuff like that. I think at the moment my go-to way will be Fire Burst as a league starter. And one thing that I did want to have in Scourge League, I don't know. I have no expectations. I don't know.
Like something that you expected to get nerfed or in some way mentioned in the patch notes. I mean, there are some things that people would consider super strong that haven't been addressed or mentioned at all.
Yeah, like Hydrosphere, for instance. You know, something like that.
Absolutely not, to be honest. I'm not like a pre-hype or anything, and I don't have to feel or the need to masturbate just because patch notes got live. So I am hyped about everything, you know, and I can't wait to play. But I'm not like going word for word like, for example, Shaq did. Like, yo, I watched the Q&A 4 times, you know, and I read through everything 10 times. And if the POB would be there, you know, I would rather spend 2 weeks checking POB masteries than actually playing the game. So I'm just like a little bit different in that regard. I just like to test out things. And I just would like in the future, that's the only thing that I want to add here. If GGG decides to buff something or to nerf something, that they don't freaking overdo it, you know? They don't need to like put Spectre Shield Throw to NASA and shoot it up to the moon because of the power level it got last league, for example. And once it people understand how strong it is, and then everybody plays it, and now it's meta again. I think we never had so low build diversity than last league because everybody and their parents played Spectre Shield Throw pretty much, you know, in all kinds of variations. And on the other hand, if they decide to nerf something because it was too strong, they just gonna put from 100% instead of saying like, you know, PoE is a game we want to have people play it forever, you know? So let's just make a 20% nerf, you know, and see how it develops in the next league. If it's still meta, we can still get another like 15% to balance it down, you know, and not be like, oh, wait, this is like way too strong. Let's just, you know what, let's just nerf this by 25 times, you know, not like 25%, but just chop off the snake's head because this skill is now utterly trash. So you're going to wait another 5, 6, 7 leagues until we buff it again to make it playable again, you know? I think the most important thing in the game is the build diversity because we can do everything, and I want to have the option to play everything and not feel like super far behind. So I would really like if GG would start addressing some of these balance things in a smoother way, pretty much, instead of like...
That's completely fair. But I think specifically in the case of Spectral Shield Throw or the shield skills, I think the nerf that they did is fair, where they took away a lot of the power from the gem level itself, and they put a little bit more onto the shields, and then they also buffed the bases, so it should come out in a good spot.
That is totally fine, but I'm not thinking about the nerf from the Spectre Shield Throw. I was more considering like, or
how they buffed like, it last league, to how they made it super
who had
strong.
The idea to set the scaling from 2 to 3 damage to 7 to 9 damage on gem level 24, you know?
Yeah,
it's like,
it was a little bit crazy.
That was like so ridiculous. So obviously it's gonna get nerfed, you know? And now I think like some people said Spectre Shield Throw in a new version is approximately 50% of what we had in this league, right? So if I go to PO Ninja and take a look at the well-rounded builds, there's a lot of raiders, for example, that had like 80 or 70, 80 million DPS with Spectre Shield Throw. So let's cut this in half, and we have 40 million damage remaining. Like, hello, that's still gonna be too strong in my opinion, but we're gonna see how it turns out.
I'm curious to see for sure. I quickly want to give Shaq and Balor the opportunity to answer the closing round questions. Let's go with Balor first. Balor, what did you expect to see on the patch notes that you didn't see? And what's your starter build if you had to start now?
I didn't have expectations. There's just one thing that I thought shouldn't have been there. They deleted Spectres, and I'm not happy about it. Between the manifesto and last league's nerfs, there was only one playable Spectre left. Like Syndicate Operatives was always the best, but if you really wanted to, you could play others. Between the nerfs we got just recently, Syndicate Operative was the only one left, and they just deleted them, basically. They just deleted them, so now there's no Spectre. I don't know what the hell to do with that. That's weird. Everything else I was pretty much happy with. Pretty much everything. There were so many things I wasn't expecting to see and didn't know I wanted until they said we're giving it to. I think I was just like this, going, what? The entire time. It was a treat to watch. What was the second part of the question? I forgot.
The second part is what build you're going to start if you're hard-pressed to start a build right now, like without knowing anything more, without having planned things.
Toxic
if you had to
Champ.
start. That is a fair pick. I think that's really good.
Darky has been practicing a really good hardcore version. but it is too tanky for softcore.
Yep.
And I can speed that up by a decent amount, make it a little less tanky because it doesn't need to be that tanky, and make it 12 million DPS instead of 4 on like day 3 gear.
Yep.
And it'll still be very tanky, just not that tanky.
Yeah.
So if I had to do it right now, I'd do that. Either that or physical traps.
Physical traps, I also expected to get more nerfs, and they didn't really. That's fair to point out. So Shaq, please go ahead. You know the questions.
So I actually, I mean, I know everybody expects me to say one thing, but if I had to start right now, there's a different build I'd be doing. But for as far as what I expected to see and didn't, like I said, I'm not gonna say the name again out of respect for Balor, but there's a certain like circular skill that enables a whole bunch of broken stuff that I expected a nerf for, and instead we got a second skill that now does the same thing in Tornado.
Okay. Just because you might have thought of it already, I'm gonna dance around this a little bit. Did you know that if you have 3 targets, that projectiles can chain back to their original target, hitting it twice? If you know where to go from there, that's all I'm giving anyone. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, you just farm the maps on the Atlas with triple bosses, easy.
Yep. So yeah, as far as builds that I'm like, if I had to play right now, not like if we just got the League and Tree released immediately without any ability to plan, I'm playing Tectonic Slam Champ. It's a build that I've been working on as like now that I'm moving into new build guides, that is the next one that I was working on, and it looks incredibly promising. They mentioned something about potentially nerfing like life regen with endurance charges, and they just didn't touch the ones that we would get for champion. I'm sorry, I kept saying champion. I meant chieftain. I apologize. I got on the champ rant with Balor, but yeah, Tech Slam Chieftain is something I've been working on for weeks, and it's really strong. It's shockingly easy to craft the war staves in SSF that are really good, and it looks really promising and is purely buffed so far from what they've said. So I'm really looking forward to developing that one.
Sounds great. Well, I'll cut mine short. I really, with all the Frostblades gameplay being shown off in the announcement trailer, and with all the talk around like, you know, shifting the meta and giving some power to lesser used skills, I think that's also in really high demand. Some people want just really outdated skills to have a little bit of a numerical buff, to have a comeback against the super developed new skills, and I was just hoping that we'd see a Frostblades buff. I was hoping for a Spectral Throw buff, and I know everyone who read the patch notes probably giggled a little bit when they saw Spectral Throw, and then they opened the spoiler, and they were like, it has its mana cost reduced by 1 or something like that. That's gonna... when there's a skill like Spectral Helix, which outdamages Spectral Throw by a factor of like 5 in the best case scenario, I don't think Spectral Throw is back on the menu, sadly. And if I was hard-pressed to start a build right now, I'd be going Witch into Elementalist, Armageddon Brand Cremation hit-based leveling into Armageddon Brand Ignite proliferation in maps with the new Flame Surge Ignite build single target. I think that's going to be juicy. Yep. And because we're running out of time, I think that about sums it up for this week's podcast. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for being here. I'm going to drop the links in chat. You guys should definitely check out Balor with the new video coming up of why you're playing every build wrong in the game. And ShakCentral with the update for the code dot. And of course, mbXtreme for some massive gambling videos and some super high investment builds, even on League Start. And Fireburst is something that I'm personally looking forward to seeing as well, because that went down from 1.5 second internal cooldown to 1 second. Gonna be pretty.
That's how it used to
again.
be.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah. Not much to say. The next Fated Connections, by the way, we will announce somewhere during the next league. Maybe we can throw one together relatively early in the league, unless we're going to be able to do that one. The next episode will be 30th of September, around the same time as this one. So first league weekend, Saturday, same time slot, maybe plus minus 1 hour. Again, I'll keep you updated on the Twitter and on the YouTube comment for. We're gonna upload this in full, obviously, to all the podcast services, to the YouTube, and there will be a comment where it says next Fated Connections is then and then. Hopefully, if we've sorted it out by then. And that sums it up. I think I've said everything except for thanks to the supporter. This is a format that only exists because of your generous support. So I want to thank my patrons, the people who keep resubbing to the stream without overdoing it. Guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting your favorite content creators. Go sub or at least follow these amazing people. And we'll see you in 1 or 2 weeks' time. Have a wonderful start in Scourge. Bye-bye.